What strategies did you implement to handle some of that growth? Like, were there certain things that you just really had to hold on to make sure, as you're adding, 2 agents or things over time, like what did you have to put in place to make sure that that grew with the business as, it's a very unknown space?
As I said, there was this issue of solving 2 problems at once. There was the issue of solving the problem for today, solving the problem for the future. So what did that look like? It meant that we had to build a lot more systems, tooling, forecasting, relationships with technology providers, with outsourcing providers, at the same time as literally just sort of getting warm bodies into a room, answering contacts. But there was also a bunch of intangible stuff that we had to manage as well around culture. What was the voice of Uber at the time? Like, how do we make sure that we, in this melee of change and growth, how do we preserve that humble and helpful voice of Uber to our customer? But equally, we're starting to now pull support contacts away from the other parts of operations of Uber. So how do we now translate that voice of the customer back into Uber in a scalable, sustainable way? That was a real challenge, and as support operations grow, I think it continues to be a challenge. But it was interesting problems to solve, especially given the iteration of change that the product went through, especially during that time.
So if you could rewind the clocks to when you first started there in 2014, building that team from scratch, what would you have done differently?
It's a good question, but sometimes I do think it's dangerous to think like that, because I think part of the success was the naivety that some of us had at the time, where we didn't really see the scale of these challenges in front of us. And it allows you to keep going. It allows you to sort of keep on marching. I think one of the things that I really did learn and appreciate over my time, it was probably during 2018 when Uber was gearing up for IPO. We intentionally brought a lot more rigor and accountability into our processes, planning, reporting, etc. And I remember some of that felt antithetical at the time to the culture that we had, like this culture of innovation and fast pivoting and like an allergy to bureaucracy, if you like. But actually, with hindsight, it probably served us really well in better understanding our business, better understanding our customers, which I think allowed us to be innovative and reactive in more meaningful ways for our customers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you talk about the innovation in different ways, what kind of technologies were you using, or what other strategies did you have when you're trying to throw bodies at it, but you're also trying to make sure, like, I'm assuming there's also, as much as it's an entrepreneurial organization, I'm sure there were some potential disconnects between the EMEA group and the US group, right?
My last job at Uber was to start to build a more global service organization. And that's not because we'd built something bad in the regions. Actually, we built 4 fantastic businesses in the regions, but they were 4 very different businesses in the regions. So, upping those ways of, comparing, contrasting about how we manage our customers, thinking about how we communicate, and getting technology in to support some of that was a useful forcing function. We actually, we started to build some of our own tech platforms to manage our support operations, as I think most big tech companies eventually tend to want to do. And I think that was a terrific forcing function for us to start to harmonize and be a little bit more consistent and thoughtful about how we manage our operations.